So today we'll be talking about trying to resolve one of the most complex problems, I think, plaguing the United States today, and that is the decriminalization and or legalization of narcotics in our country. To introduce this topic, we're talking about some of the measures that have been recently taken in certain U.S. states, whose aim it is to try to fight against the war on drugs by implementing new measures, including those that call for the legalization and or decriminalization of heavy narcotics. The goal of these measures is to free up space in our prison systems by keeping low-level drug offenders out of jail and push them more toward treatment services. The proponents of these measures feel it's very beneficial to drug users and the society at large, while those against the measure suggest that legalizing even personal use amounts of drugs will only lead to further widespread drug use, and that government funds will be abused because it will be government funds that are proposed to be used to fund these treatment services and to fund these rehabilitation centers and to assist with offenders and users in their treatment or their lack thereof. The initial measure regarding the decriminalization and or legalization of drugs in the United States was taken in California. Particularly San Francisco saw the largest effect. The 2014 proposition made possession of narcotics a misdemeanor instead of a felony for the first time. So this measure, as I previously stated, was based on the principle that drug users should be directed to treatment instead of jail. The whole goal was to help drug users and offenders instead of punish them. The second state, and one of the most monumental states to really pass a measure such as this, was Oregon. Measure 110 decriminalized personal possession and use of narcotics. So this measure, though in particular, made a major point of investing in and funding these different treatment facilities, programs, services, and took a lot of taxpayer money and government funding to really make alternatives to the prison system for these addicts. Now, if we measure the efficacy of the measure, it has been supported in evidence via the criminal justice system and news organizations such as the very reputable Oregon Public Broadcasting Station that the passing of Measure 110 had not necessarily done what it was supposed to do. The hotline is designed to connect drug users and offenders with treatment options are sitting idle. Offenders receiving minor tickets to appear in jail for their drug charges, but a staggering 85% of those ticket offenders are not seeing any court time. Also, Measure 110 has created a new level of crime violation. So Class E violations is a new class of violations. It's very low level, and the police officers in that state have admitted that they are not likely to spend a lot of time focusing on these sorts of minor, low-level violations. Therefore, those that may have even received a ticket are now not even necessarily receiving tickets for their drug use, which is more or less taking away one of the major deterrents of doing drugs, which is the punishment. One of the other big things is the amount of money put into this. The state of Oregon has spent over $30 million on funding these different programs and services. Society sees this as wasting a lot of money and time in trying to force an unwanted system into place. It's clear that the drug users are not really interested in this system of support and treatment that Oregon has set out for them with this measure. Looking at this image, begs the question, are we helping? The top photo shows a local proposal offering clean needles to drug addicts, which, in my opinion, could only further encourage someone to continue using drugs if they find cleaner, safer ways to do it. We also see the chart, the rate of change. There's been no increase nor decrease in the number of addicts seeking treatment, the number of crimes, or the cost for society since the passing of this measure. The needle exchange program concept has been implemented through different cities. There are stations situated throughout these cities where drug users can pick up clean and unopened syringes to use. The aim behind this is to try to eradicate the number of drug users coming down with bloodborne illnesses such as HIV and hepatitis. However, we beg the question, isn't the risk of getting sick from needles a good deterrent for non-drug users? So taking away this risk may actually have drugs seem more appealing to those interested in doing drugs, and may actually seem to be more encouraging to do drugs than deterring. If you look at an international level, before these propositions of the United States, Switzerland tried the same concept. They designate a certain area in their country called Needle Park, which was considered a safe space for addicts to get together and use their respective substances. However, in that situation, this led to an increase in violence, including murder, and the program eventually became shut down due to the severe spike in serious crime. We have to discuss the other crimes involved as well. Even if small personal uses of drugs are not taken seriously, we have to remember that drug offenders oftentimes go on to commit other crimes. If using and possessing illegal drugs is not the victimless crime some believe it is. Now, a lot of drugs are psychoactive, causing people to act irrationally, driving under the influence, causing rifts in families, as well as drug offenders committing fraud, theft, different ways to acquire money to support one's habit. This photo posted in the subway systems of New York seems quite problematic, suggesting that drug users should feel empowered by using the clean needle exchange program because they're using safely. It begs the question if overdosing is the only concern with drugs in the community, and also should drug users feel empowered instead of ashamed? How do we solve a problem such as this? We can take apart a complex problem such as this and look at it in smaller portions. The main problem, ending the drug epidemic in America, is almost unsolvable. People can continue doing drugs no matter what. However, the recent trending issue of legalization or decriminalization of drugs is an issue that we can at least sort of figure out. So it's clear the answer, should drugs be legalized, and is that going to be a positive effect in the epidemic of drugs in America? And the answer to that would be no. Based on the evidence presented in this slideshow by members of the criminal justice community and well-respected journalists and scholarly articles, the answer is no. Those who continue to take part in the buying, selling, using of drugs still be held accountable, and even small amounts of personal use drugs being considered legal, being allowed, being encouraged, however you want to say it, still leads to bigger problems with further crime, with societal disruptions, with the overspending of government funds. And here are some of the scholarly articles and news bulletins that I've used for my slideshow. Thank you.